Today on the Coach of Wild podcast, we have a very special guest. Even though he's a first-year head coach, he brings over a decade's worth of experience when it comes to the golf landscape, including 5 years as the assistant golf professional at New Haven Country Club, as well as being a Level 2 PGA apprentice. Today, we welcome Coach Matthew Smith to the Coach of Wild podcast. With the world of coaching evolving and the carousel always changing, we're going to sit down with some coaches, and we're going to figure out what they coach, how they coach, and most importantly, why they got into this profession. My name is Kason Wilkinson, and I am your host of the Coach's Why podcast.
That's a great question.
That was my Coach's Why.
Bro, I didn't even press record on this thing. Well, guys, we started this podcast already, but I forgot to press record, so we're going to restart here. I don't even know how to do this. I don't think I've ever done this before, so we're just going to try to fly with it. Welcome back to another Coach of Wild podcast. We have Coach Matt Smith, head women's and men's golf coach from Albertus Magnus College. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm wonderful, Jason. Thank you
For the second time.
Thank you for having me for round number 2. We didn't get too far, so.
Luckily it was first question, so we're okay. So before we get in, and I guess kind of reiterate the first part of it, I'm super excited. You're my first golf coach on the show, so I can't wait to talk a little bit about golf. Never played it, but we have one of the, I don't know, I think I saw it, maybe somebody said it, but one of the better courses in the country in our area. So super excited to talk a little bit about golf with you and recruiting and development and stuff like that. So I'm very thankful that you decided to join the show tonight. But before we get talking a little bit about that stuff on the coaching side of things, I want to dive into who you are. So go ahead and let myself know and everybody else know kind of, for one, who you are, but also kind of where you grew up, and then when you got involved in maybe all sports, but golf in particular, since that's obviously what you're coaching now.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Matt Smith. Very common name. I've been dealing with that. I know quite a few of myself out there. I grew up in so many Matt Smiths. I grew up in Northwest Ohio. I spent about 25 years there. Kind of grew up in a very small town, cornfields, railroad tracks. We had the property that we lived on had about an acre of land in the back. It actually backed up into a ditch that went into these railroad tracks. And when I was 3, my dad gave me a golf club, and I just started swinging away. And he kind of gave me some ground level pointers, but he said that I really just connected with it. And, that kind of turned into baseball and basketball, soccer, just really all sports. I never played football or hockey, any of the other specialty sports like that. But yeah, I'm very thankful for my father who kind of pushed me to be active and involved in anything sports, and that was from the ground level. So I've been surrounded by it my entire life since then. Playing sports. I did not play collegiately, but after college, got into the golf business, and yeah, the ground level was big for me. I mean, I started very young, and golf has just become nothing but my life at this point. So,
wow, no, that's interesting. So you say you didn't play collegiately. And I always find it really intriguing when a coach who's never really got maybe the recruiting experience or maybe even the college experience goes into coaching, specifically a coaching job career at the college level. So was that ever something that was like nerve-wracking to you, knowing that I didn't get to go through the recruiting, which maybe you did. I kind of overstepped there or assumed that. But you didn't get to go to the college recruiting side of things, and or you weren't a part of a college program to kind of see how maybe they were ran, right? And maybe whatever the experience you might have got from that. So was that something that was ever on your mind or in the back of your mind of what maybe some sort of nerves or scared type of thing before you jumped into the college realm?
Yeah, a little bit. Something I was very straightforward with. My athletic director when we first started talking about the position, and I was very lightly recruited coming out of high school. Again, small town. Like we didn't really. I say we. I was really not in the college experience. I don't think that I truly thought it was important. It wasn't important to me. I wanted to go to college and I wanted to play golf in college, but I don't think I realized at the age of 16, what I needed to do to prepare for being recruited and trying to get myself recruited. So when it came down to it, in the end, I had one school that I had an offer at. It was a Division III school in Indiana, and I wanted to be close to home and be with my friends. That was more important to me. So I ultimately I never got that recruiting experience. You're 100% right. And I had the talent, I think, to play in college, but it just didn't. It wasn't. It never worked out, and I ended up having an injury my first year of school. Both I had tears in both of my labrums of my shoulder, so I kind of wasn't able to play golf for 2 to 3 years, and kind of got back into it. But to get back to your question, yeah, when I talked to Mike, our athletic director, I said, "Hey, listen, I don't have any collegiate coaching experience or high school coaching experience. What I'm going to need to work hard on is recruiting and being familiar with NCAA rules and regulations, all that good stuff." And the advantage that I think I have from a coaching perspective, fortunately, is that the last 10 years of my career have been coaching golf, teaching golf. So I can kind of segue that into the actual coaching part. But I think I'm good with the kids, and I'm able to help. The player development side is big for me. So that would be the advantage. But that was a great question. I had zero experience coming into this. So it is a little bit of a learning process as I go, and trial and error. And
I guess my question for you, based off of not having a lot of the coaching experience side of things, which I would, as you mentioned, you talk about how recruiting was a huge piece of the learning process. But this may be a question for later, maybe not. I think it fits perfectly right now. Talking about how you just said you didn't have a lot of experience coaching, but obviously you had pretty good talent playing golf. And this might be a naive question, right? Maybe because I don't play it. But golf's one of those sports that you can develop on your own, essentially, right? If you care about the game enough, you can go to the driving range. You can go play around a round of 9 or a full game, right? 18 holes, and you can actually get better, right? And you can kind of teach yourself, and or right, there's so much social media out there, you can get your own coach, whatever the case is. So there's so much things that you can do to become a better golfer on your own, which, like I said, might be ignorant to the game. But is that something that you think is also an advantage, maybe for you, not having, even though you didn't have the coaching experience per se of coaching kids, recruiting, whatever, but because you've developed after your injuries, which I'll probably ask here in a little bit, like recovery and stuff, just injuries in golf in general. But do you think that that's something that maybe gave you an advantage because of the fact that you may have spent so much time playing the game or studying the game that the actual teaching of the game is not so difficult to do? It's more of the personal side, as you mentioned, or the recruiting side. Does that make sense? The kind of question I'm asking a little bit about. Okay.
Yeah, I think that any player with a high athletic ability, for the most part, is going to have a massive advantage playing this game. And I mean, I've seen kids who are, let's call them 12 handicaps, 10 handicaps, shooting 10 to 15 over par, coming come around in a year or two and improve their score by 8 shots, 9 shots. And my love for the game and I'm getting stuck here.
No, you're good.
No,
I'm trying to.
It's okay.
No, I just want to I want to make sure I'm answering this question properly.
And like I said, I mean, if you asked me like, hey, give me some questions to prepare for, that would not be one of them. I promise you. That was just on the fly, like trying to, So I wasn't even prepared to ask it. So
I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. Like the amount of coaching versus the amount of natural ability. Is that kind of where you're headed, or?
So I think it's more of like the idea that even though you didn't have a lot of coaching experience, you spent a lot of time playing the game. So kind of like self-taught, right? You're or maybe not self-taught, but you had a lot of self-growth after your injuries. You kept playing the game. You had knowledge of the game, right? And things like that. So do you think that that's an advantage in the case of you didn't have to have the coaching experience because you're such a student of the game, or because you cared, because you spent so much time as an individual to get better, and
No, I think you're right. I think you nailed it. Coaching is such a broad term, I think, but
absolutely.
I feel like, well, I spent about almost 10 years as an assistant golf pro. So I was in the golf business, learning how to teach the game myself. So, I had mentors and people who put their philosophies in my pocket, and I was able to learn from them and kind of develop my own golf swing theories and thoughts. Yeah. But I think that paired with the experience and the longevity that I've played the game, along with like just a general personality for it is really what is important, and
right. Okay.
what has played a huge role in me getting comfortable and being comfortable being a collegiate golf coach, honestly.
That's absolutely, yeah.
So because you mentioned all your mentors, and because you spent some time obviously as an athlete in high school playing and just growing up playing the game of golf, what coach or coaches made an impact on your life, and why? So kind of who were they and why, when it comes to the impact they had on you?
Yeah, I only played one sport in high school. I did bowl, I suppose. That was more just to have some fun. But
hell yeah. Hey, not gonna lie, I played golf one year, or not golf. I did bowl one year as well in high school. I'm not gonna lie. It was fun though. So yeah. It's all right. I feel you, bro. It's all right.
I had a blast. They cut the tennis program. I think my sophomore year, because I was planning on playing tennis. But I only had one golf coach for my sophomore through my senior year. Terry Tanzel. He's still in the Northwest Ohio area. He was awesome. I mean, and it's funny, you look back, this was, oh my goodness, 15 plus years ago. When I was a sophomore, he was very hard on me in the best way. And, he shut my attitude down really fast if I ever got an attitude and I wasn't, playing my game or playing within myself. He was very straightforward and real with me, but we had so much fun out there. I'll never forget the day that we went to practice and he pulled out a 7-iron and he played the entire 9 holes with us with a 7-iron. And he said, "I bet I can beat you with my 7-iron." And I just laughed at him. And I'm like, "You're crazy." Well, guess what? He beat all of us with his 7-iron. I mean, he shot it must have been even par or something like that, with his 7-iron. And his whole point was listen, I can come out here and play with one club because I know how to manage a golf course. And, he really proved a point of, you don't have to hit the ball 300 yards. You don't have to be the greatest ball striker out there or the best putter. Like if you can manage your game, then you're going to shoot a good score. And that is probably at this point in my career, that is my number, the very top of the pyramid for better scores when I talk to my students and my student athletes is golf course management. And I think it goes all the way back to that day that he proved a good
pulled
point.
Out the 7-iron. Yeah.
Absolutely. And he was just a good man to me. He was very supportive of everything I ever did, and always kept in touch as I progressed through life. And
Right.
if you're listening, Coach T.
Hey, Coach T. Hey, clearly, yeah, you made an impact on this man right here. So, we all need coaches like that that can have, as you mentioned at the beginning of that, who can be stern, but also have a lot of that supportive, and whether father figure or not, just that person who you can turn to for advice or support, but also hype man, but also like they can talk you through your slumps or whatever. We all need that coach. So, Coach T sounds like he was a good man to you. So is there, and I know you mentioned like the management of a game was a huge thing that you learned from him. And it sounds like that's one of the biggest things that you utilize as a coach now. So when it comes to like management of the game, like how do you do that? Is that more of a, like just knowing, obviously I know probably course knowledge is important as well in that I would assume, but like, how do you manage the game? Is that a, knowing your swing? Is it knowing the angles? Is it knowing, obviously there's wind. There's so many variables I'm assuming that goes into golf, which I'll talk to you about here in a little bit. But like, how do you manage a game of golf and for the better, right? To put you in a good position to, place high or win money, right? If you get to the professional ranks, whatever the case is, to actually keep yourself in a good position.
That's great. Awesome question. It all comes from your game. I think that's the kind of the baseline. Excuse me. What are you capable of? Not saying that you shouldn't push yourself and try to maybe hit a harder shot or take some risks. I think there's a time and a place for it, but really it's the thought process through every shot of your round. And I'm a true believer in anything can happen. You could go out and shoot the worst front nine of your life and go out and shoot the best back nine of your life. So there's always room for crazy things to happen in the game, but it's a one shot at a time sort of deal. Thinking about every variable that is going on. What's the wind? You just said, what's the wind doing? How much water is on my ball? If it's dewy outside in the morning, what is my lie like? How far do I truly hit club? All these little variables. I think it's really a thinking process, and rather than going out and trying to be a hero and how do you put yourself in the best position to make a par? I think my student athletes would probably got tired of me last season talking about. Excuse me, sorry.
No, you're good, man.
Talking about making par. I don't care if you make a birdie or if you're going to make a bad score, but how can you make a par and then go on to the next hole and do the same thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, management is all up top. It's really, you have to know what you can do with the golf ball and what you're capable of from at first, but then once you put all of those skills to use, you have to think your way through your round. So, yeah, I love that question, and I stand behind that forever.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Find a way to make par. So what makes golf so difficult, man? I mean, like, people argue what's the toughest sport in the world or what's the toughest sport in the United States, right? Like, physically, I'll put money on, me personally, I'm putting money on wrestling as the toughest physical sport. And just, I think wrestling's a tough sport. You'll see people talk about baseball because it's like, well, if you go 3 for 10 in the pros, you're going to be a Hall of Famer, right? Bat 300.
It's a good point.
Football with what it is, whatever the case is, right? Like, there's so many sports that people can argue about what's the most difficult sport. And I have heard that golf, and there's other sports too, like tennis. I've heard people talk about whatever the case is, but golf's a very difficult sport. In my opinion, I don't play it, but I know that if I've went out to the driving range a few times, and it took me a while to like get a decent swing to at least hit the ball relatively decent, right? I've never actually went and played a round of golf, but like, I guess you can argue it in your situation, or you can just like state why golf is just generally a tough sport to do. What makes it so difficult?
I think the difficulty comes from the technicalities, the mechanics. There's a lot that can go wrong in a golf swing, and the golf swing is kind of played within a very tight window. So I think, most other sports, you're moving, you're able to move your body kind of pretty freely. Where golf, you're really moving within a box, and if you get outside that box, if your club's in the wrong position, it's a game of millimeters, centimeters, yeah. and I would say, like, physically demanding. If you're walking 18 holes, it's a hilly golf course. Yeah, it's a good exercise and whatnot. But from a technicality standpoint, I mean, I think you can put hockey up there as one of the. I think that's one of the hardest overall, between skating and puck handling, stick handling. Football is what it is. Basketball, tough physically. These are physically difficult sports. Wrestling, incredibly difficult. I mean, I'm 6'5", 250, like 260, and I mean, I'd probably get my butt whooped by most wrestlers. It's technique, right? There's a lot of technique involved.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the same thing goes for golf. It's very technique based, but it's the margins are so thin that you can't just go out and actually. I'm like really curious. Average golf score.
It's interesting. I think that everybody has their own mechanics that their body and their mental can kind of like connect with to make them good at a sport. I think you can be maybe athletic enough to go play another sport, like to maybe put yourself in a decent position to like do well. But I think to get to a high level of that sport, it takes a certain amount of commitment and connectivity between all those things. So golf is just tough to watch. I actually have, as I've gotten older, have learned to enjoy watching golf and tennis. Interesting. I'll watch tennis too sometimes, but which people are like, what the hell, you're watching this stuff on this podcast? What the hell? But I've just kind of learned an appreciation for all sports, I guess is what I'm getting at, because I watch baseball, I watch football, I watch all the sports still, but I've kind of learned to appreciate golf a little bit more. I just watched a round at Pebble Beach this last weekend. I don't know if that was live or not, but I did watch.
Yeah.
Okay, I did watch a little bit of Pebble Beach. So yeah, it's interesting. I know you were looking stuff up, but I just had to comment that for sure.
No, you nailed it. It's there. You have to be to succeed and excel in any sport, whatever it might be. I mean, the amount of time that you have to commit and how much grit you have to be that good at something and to get that technical with it is pretty incredible. Absolutely. So the national, just the average 18-hole score for men and women is a 94, which is typically 22 over par. And like, that's your average
person going out.
And that, I mean, that's not very good in the grand scheme, but I'm, I guess I'm talking from a different perspective, but it just goes to show how much time and effort you have to put in it. And I think golf's one of those sports where most athletes and people who know their bodies well will eventually get pretty good at. You figure out how to hit the tiny white ball.
I think that as we Dang, this is going to be a good conversation. I want to, because I think that, yeah, like you said, the amount of time you put in is all going to work itself out. The same way that goes into coach, the amount of effort you put into being a coach, the time you spend learning and becoming a student of the game as well, not just the game of the sport, but student of coaching, it's only going to pan out for you in the long run. At least we all hope so. So to kind of dive back, or to kind of go back a little bit into you coaching, I know you said that you haven't really coached before this. So like what made you, like when did you decide that coaching is what you wanted to do?
It was a very unique situation for me. I was I was in the golf business from 2014 until last year, till 2024. I was, kind of worked my way up, got to the point where I thought I was ready to be a head golf professional. And I sat down with my mentor and boss at the time, just started a family, and I kind of said to him, I don't think I can do this anymore. I think it's too much time taking away from my family. I'm a little scared. I've got, what's the term? I'm drawing a total blank. Cold feet, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, cold feet is other things other than marriage. So for sure, yeah, you got some cold feet. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what to do. And he is just one of the greatest people I've ever known. And he was just, he said, well, I'll keep you employed here and we can figure it out, and, we'll talk about it and go from here. So he kept me around the club that I worked at. And ultimately I finally made the decision that I was going to leave the golf business. Um, and it was a very, very difficult one. It had been all I've
Right.
known for, about 10 years. It was my career. But I ended up, I have my own, small handyman home improvement business, that has been going well for the last few years. And I get a phone call from my old boss. This was last year. And he said, hey, I just thought I would reach out. There's an opportunity to coach golf at Albertus. Not sure if you have the time, if you have the commitment, but, you know, let me know and I can talk to the people that I know. And that's how it happened. And I spoke with the president of the university, who I actually I have known for a couple of years, and it just kind of all worked out. And it's everything that I've ever wanted. I mean, I'm still involved with the game, and I get to be involved with some incredible student athletes, and I can have an impact on them. And that's really, something that I don't think that I truly knew that I really, really wanted to do. But this has just been so much fun
Outstanding. Yeah.
and super rewarding. So sorry for the
Absolutely.
long-winded response,
No, no,
but
no, 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 no.
it was
Don't even
very
have to
unique.
apologize.
I didn't go out and search for the opportunity. It just kind of worked out. I really was in the right place at the right time, and I happened to be the right candidate. So I'm very fortunate and very blessed to be a part
Yeah.
of this college.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Sometimes the opportunities come knocking, and like they say, you don't. Sometimes searching for opportunities may not be the best one for you. But sometimes just waiting and be patient. You get the reward out of it. So that's awesome. And I'm very happy that you got the opportunity to do that and be where you're at now. So what do you love about coaching, and what do you dislike about it that you've kind of experienced so far?
Well, I'll start with the dislike. I have zero dislikes at all. I mean, this is really,
Really?
like,
Okay.
I really enjoy this. I have a little bit of autonomy with, how I can recruit and who I can talk to, and making up our schedule, and developing that relationship with my student athletes. The thing I like most is really the impact potential that I could have on any of these kids. I had mentioned Coach T. He was great for me. I hope that not only I can improve my student athletes game, but I just want to help them get to the next level in life and be a mentor for them. And that's really, that got to be the most fulfilling thing, to have an opportunity like that, where if one of my student athletes needs something, I can be there for them and I can help them through something, or I can guide them in the right direction, and I can make them better at golf.
Yeah, right. There's that positive side. No, I think that's got to be, like you said, got to be the ultimate, the most rewarding thing is whenever you create good people or help be a stepping stone for them to be good people, right? And you get kind of unique. You're both men's and women's. There's not a lot of coaches who get to do that. Maybe like wrestling gets that, swimming maybe, right? Golf, track and field, but like softball's also you get that, right? Like it's interesting. You get to almost do twice as many people, which may be a struggle for some people, just because as a man, right, you might have only ever coached men, or as you still may, or maybe you've only ever coached women. So like having to learn how to evolve to coach both is also just as, I would assume, maybe just as difficult too. But I'm sure it's same amount of. Obviously, the reward doesn't change regardless of who you're, what gender you're coaching or teaching. So I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. That you've been able to fall in love with it and make it what you love. So that's awesome, man. But you did mention about recruiting and how you enjoy kind of learning that and continuing developing that, obviously scheduling and all that. But this is one of my biggest things I've wanted to talk to you about. And whoever was a golf coach, so I'm thankful you're the first one to I get to ask these questions to. But similar to like track, no, you're good, man. I like track, right? There's PRs and there's marks and there's certain things that you do in track or in swimming, right? In racing, in golf, right? I know like you play X amount of tournaments or X amount of rounds in a season, right? I would assume it's a tournament in high school. I guess it's still a tournament in college, but you play X amount of those at different courses. And so I guess my big question is, I don't really know how to ask it, so we're just going to shoot for the stars and hope it lands. When it comes to recruiting, like when you're recruiting, are you recruiting like the mark somebody hits, right? Let's just say like they're at, like I know there's a kid here who shot like a 62 or 61 or some crazy number. He was like, at one point, he hit some crazy under, like compared to everybody else. He was like 10, 12 strokes under. Like, are you recruiting kids who are hitting certain marks or have certain scores? Are you recruiting how kids, like consistency of kids? Are you recruiting like you can see, oh, this kid's shooting this and there's so much more like opportunity or maybe like development opportunity, right? Whatever, like however you want to put that into that question. But like what are you looking for when it comes to actually like performance of a kid that attracts you to recruit them?
I think golf is very, very unique. Like you said about, track and field, you have PRs, you have numerical data, you have, very, very quantitative things that you can look at. And the first thing I will look at is what's your average? What's your tournament average? And that's kind of that is a marker. Okay, if you're shooting under 85 or 80, I want you. Let's take a look. Let's see what. Okay, well, honestly, the next thing I'm probably going to look at is what's your GPA. I really, an important thing for me and for Albertus Magnus is that we have who can perform on and off the field. We take great pride in our academic programs and our student athletes' GPAs. are typically above a 3.5 cumulative for the entirety of, or right around that number for the entirety of the college. So I'm looking at your 18-hole tournament score average, and I'm going to be looking at your academics, but then I'm going to look at your golf swing. I want to see your swing. I'm going to analyze that and say, okay, well, if this person is shooting maybe a little bit worse than another person, what's the potential? I mean, what's the athleticism? I really want to be able to grow the on the golf course. I mean, I want to be able to make them a better player, and I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be able to do that. But there's a lot that goes into the golf recruiting, except this is where it gets interesting. I don't really have to travel too much. The traveling and going to tournaments and being somewhere in person is going to help with an interpersonal connection, getting to know parents, getting to know the student athlete. I could look at swings and look at scoring averages, GPAs, but it all really comes down to the phone call. It all comes down to that first point of contact. What type of questions are my recruits going to have for me? How involved or interested do they sound in their academics and in their game, in their golf game? How excited are they to either have an opportunity to play in college, or how excited are they to have an opportunity to become a better player? And what do you want to do when you get out of school? How are we going to make you a successful person in life? So
yeah, for sure.
I think it's the age old question is like, how do you recruit, and what do you look for? Because I'm not, I can't go to a basketball game and say, wow, this player it is clear as day. This is a standout player, because I'll look at a number. I'm looking at a number to start things off, but from there it gets a little bit more in depth. But
so I know you mentioned that you don't really have to go. You don't have to leave, really, right? You're not going to in-person tournaments necessarily all the time. So, like, are you looking for kids, like, in your region, kind of focusing there, or are you looking nationwide to get kids that might be able to fit what you're building there? I mean, where are you looking for your athletes?
Yeah, both. I have a starting to try to build a connection with a lot of the local high school coaches. Any connections that I made through the business, being in the golf business. There was a handful of junior golfers that I was able to teach. One of whom is getting ready to choose a college and whether or not they want to play golf or not. So, to have an opportunity to recruit a player who I coached for a few years is pretty cool. But I'm really looking for someone who wants to be a part of our program, whether that's local or nationwide. There's a lot of resources out there that I haven't probably quite touched yet for nationwide recruiting. And NCSA is a huge resource for me. I've contacted most out of state athletes.
It's with that, okay.
Yeah, and I get quite a few. I guess I haven't been coaching long enough to know what receiving emails from athletes.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I might be interested in your program. So that does come across, my plate every once in a while.
And stuff.
Yeah. And so that's always, if someone says they might be interested, then yeah, I would love to chat. And I'm kind of thankful for the opportunity that someone has reached out to me where,
absolutely.
I may not have found them. Local is great. We have kind of unique school award opportunities for certain Catholic schools, and we have resident awards for people who are outside of a 15-mile radius in the state, or I guess anywhere. But yeah, the recruiting for me has been a mixed bag.
So what's been, I was gonna say, so I mean, I feel like it keeps you on your toes for sure, but maybe now it's my turn to say, excuse me. What are some of the challenges that you have faced kind of going from not really have, as you mentioned, maybe not having some of those, I know you've said you haven't touched all the resources you may have, you just haven't been there long enough, or you're still learning it, right? Or maybe you haven't, whatever the case is. But what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced going into this coaching, or maybe as a coach now, I should say, when it comes to recruiting, and or maybe like development? You can kind of answer that how you want, but maybe what's kind of the biggest challenge you feel like you've had to overcome, or that you're facing?
I think it's the pool. I think it's the pool of opportunity for any athlete, is that if you're willing to move, basically, or to go to a school that maybe isn't right in your backyard, there's probably quite a bit of opportunity out there for you, especially on the Division III level for us. If you're a fairly average or better than average player, you've got certain Division I schools might pass up on you, certain Division II schools might pass up on you. But there's a lot of Division III schools. I think recruiting it's shark infested, I suppose. I think there's a lot of schools, and there's a lot of coaches that are looking to grow their programs. So, and I think that might be, and this is coming from a first year coach, but I just think it's competitive, plain and simple.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great way of putting it. I think that, whether it is shark infested or not, I think that, there is a lot of, the really good players everybody's trying to get after, and then the kids who get trickled down, right, whether it's just haven't been seen or whatever. Like, you might find a gym or a diamond in a rough, essentially, that you're trying to find, and then last minute NAI school catches them, or a D2 school catches them. So now you have to fight not only the fact that they're no longer just being seen by you, but now you're facing a school that's like, I can offer athletic scholarship for whatever, or it's closer to home, or whatever some of those obstacles might be that you have to kind of really have to find a way around, right, as a coach, to get people in. So I think that's a great explanation on some of the challenges you're having to face. Is that difficult as a D3 school, in your opinion, being the first year coach in that division, to get actually two-parter here, to get kids in? So I guess you can answer that. Are you finding it difficult as a D3 school to, as you say, be in the shark-infested water with schools, not only in the D3 level, but maybe other, schools that are in D2 or NAIA, or maybe even JUCO now that they have, which I don't know if there's a lot of JUCO schools with golf, but with, opportunities to offer scholarships on the athletic side, which it's all education at the end of the day. Like, if kids know if there's the opportunity, you can still go to school for damn near a full ride if you have good academics, right? It's just might not be called athletic scholarships, whatever the case is. So like, I guess you can answer that question, and then kind of, how many kids are you bringing on campus for golf? Are you, I know golf teams are like 5, I think, at a time, maybe 6, I don't know. So how many kids are you bringing on each, or maybe whether it's each year, or to have on staff at one time, on a team at one time? How many kids are you bringing on? So yeah, I guess you can answer those two.
Yeah. So I guess I'll answer your second question first. We have 12, anywhere from 10 to 13 on the team at the time at any time. Actually, so I hope I don't get this number wrong. 6 of my players are hockey players.
Okay.
So they're and they're damn good. I mean, they're good players. They are pure athletes. And it's that. So that this is the team that I inherited when I got here. We have one senior who's our captain and just a fantastic kid. So our goal is to get 3 to 5 or more, solid recruits for next season, for fall of 2025. And that number will change. I think it's always a moving target.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because there's a lot of transfers that occur too. So I haven't experienced that quite yet, but I have two or three transfers on my team now. So it's always really a moving target. Women's team, we have this is our inaugural season, which is awesome. I mean, to get a women's program up and running, they are all hockey players and incredible group of women. I mean, they're so much fun to be around, and they just smoke the ball. It's fun to watch them play. But we're looking to build this into a big successful program, and recruiting is what it comes down to. So the challenges of a Division III school is that we don't have the ability to offer an athletic scholarship. And if there's a player who's looking to play at maybe a D1 or a D2 level for their own personal, whatever reason that might be, we have to fit the mold as a school, not only as a golf program for that player. So we're a small private school in New Haven, Connecticut. So if you don't want to go to our school, or if you come to our school, and you don't care for it, it might not be your thing, then that's kind of right out. You're kind of right out the window.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And we're very, very fortunate. I mean, we have a beautiful campus, incredible academic programs. We get to play golf at one of the nicest country clubs in the entire state of Connecticut. We have everything you would ever want as a student, I would think. We fortunately have it. So that's the advantage that I have also with the recruiting is here's what we have to offer. Come and play golf, and come have some fun in New Haven.
Absolutely.
So going back to what you mentioned about like how you're trying to build that success, and you hopefully will find that success over time. And I know you're a first year coach, or I guess officially 1 year. So you're 1 and a half, whatever the actual time is, as a coach. So you may not have the answer for this, but I'm curious to know, since you said your goal is to build a successful program, so how do you plan on building a successful program when it comes to like the level of buy-in and mindset when it comes to like culture? So like obviously that's a big piece that will play a factor into the success on the courses, at tournaments, right? Obviously those things like that. But yeah, how do you plan on building that buy-in culture and mindset buy-in as well?
I think the way that I see my team and my program being successful is you got to be a part of the program. I mean, you got to be a part of what I'm looking for, what the school's looking for, and what your teammates are looking for. And that's the most important thing. So I guess it's a Bill Belichick mindset. Like, this might come off.
You said that because you're in New England, but that's all right.
Yeah, and I'm not a Pats fan at all. I'm not. Don't get me wrong there.
Yeah,
But no,
I got you, man. No.
he was very much like, if you don't like it, get out. That's not me, but I want to make sure that the recruits that I'm bringing in um, are with my program, and like, I expect you to go to class, and I expect you to be at practice, and I expect you to develop a relationship with your teammates, and nobody gets left out. We are a team. We are tight knit. We're a community. And to me, that's success. If you can come in and enjoy what you're doing while you're here, and you can contribute to the group, then that's it. That's success to me. We always want to win. Everybody wants to win, but in the end, it doesn't always happen. So, success for me is defined as, and if a student comes in, they play 4 years of golf, and they say, wow, I really loved playing golf for Coach Smith, and I really, really loved being at Albertus Magnus, then that's a total win for me. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And you know what? We're going to come close, if not do it a few times, hopefully, win our conference championship and go to NCAAs. But I think it goes back to why I do this, and what is coaching. It's development, and not just on the field, plain and simple.
Yeah.
You jumped straight ahead to my favorite question. I actually have two more questions for you. One more is the philosophy side, and then there's one question I'd like to end on that's more for fun, more on the fun side of things, kind of lighter, because this is really deep here, right? About the philosophy and everything. So, but you jumped right into it about the why. So, kind of the name of the podcast and the name of the show is, why do you coach? What is your why?
My why is the community and the other person. If it's the impact, I think admittedly, if I can make somebody successful, I mean, that makes me feel good about myself, to be honest. Like, that's what fulfills me. So I think it's a combination of all those things. A little bit of self-fulfillment, and a little bit of, trying to share success with other people, and having an impact. I can't even imagine how many times you've heard the impact word.
Absolutely.
And success and fulfill, like, all of these adjectives are like, I think we're all the same. I think you have to be a motivated, caring person to be a coach.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, and we all want to make impacts. We all want to change these young athletes' lives in whatever way, shape, or form that may be, and ultimately, right, like, they be passionate about the sport. But at the end of the day, it's hopefully, my favorite thing is hopefully my program can change the people's lives to where, like, sometimes they say, like, the athlete needs the sport more than the sport needs them, type of thing. But it's the idea that you're changing somebody's life. So yeah, the impact that you have, and yeah, it is a very common word, but everybody has their own why, right? Everybody has their own reasoning behind it. I haven't said mine yet, out loud, right, to the people yet. I'm saving that for the final episode, whenever that time may be. I might be 45, might be 60, so my why might change. I don't know how long I'm doing this thing for, but it's going to be one of those things where eventually I'll say mine, but everybody has their own. So I love that. Thanks for your why, Coach. I appreciate it. And if you guys are still listening to this, by the way, which hopefully you guys have enjoyed the first golf coach on the show, ask some golf questions. I've tried to develop some, but if you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure you guys HTB, hit that bell, like, subscribe, all that stuff, all that 9 yards. If you guys are on, like, audio podcast or audio listener, so if you guys are Spotify, PocketCasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever, make sure you guys leave a review, leave a star rating, say what you got to say, but whatever you say with your chest. I'm on my final question here, and this one is usually, if you've listened to this, if you haven't, do it. You're going to be the first golf coach, so maybe you can pay attention to the next one. But it's a debate question, so I'm going to let you say your piece here, and then the next guy can come on here and say his or hers. So, what state produces the best high school golf on the men's side and the women's side? Dang it! All right. My bad. So it says, what state produces the best high school golf on men's side and or women's side? Yeah, put you on the spot here.
Yeah, I mean, like, admittedly, say it's probably between California, Texas, and Florida, and I think a lot of great athletes come out of those states. It's just a little tougher if you're in a southern state or a state that's getting good weather all year. You're going to be a better golfer typically. So.
All right. So we got 3. So which one's the best? Men's side and women's side?
California.
Cali. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully, hey, you better be looking at some of these Cali golfers then if you're going to put them up there. I want to look in your roster in the next year or two, be like, I remember this conversation. So
I won't drop any names, but I got a 26 recruit out there. I hope you're listening. And I hope you come play golf for me. He's from California.
Yep.
So
come play for Coach Smith out here at Albertus. So dang, that's gonna be far, by the way. That's a cross country trip. So you better
All right.
We've talked about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So very thankful you jumped on here. I hope that it was insightful for anybody who's listening to this, and Coach was able to drop some gems for you. I know he did for me. Coach, I appreciate you jumping on here today. Thanks for being my first golf coach, and I look forward to not only watching your success, but hopefully one day we can get you back on here and maybe talk more of the technical side of things, maybe behind the scenes of how you're developing athletes and maybe how you're teaching these kids to grow in the game of golf, whatever the case is. But I'd love to have you back on at some point for sure.
That'd be wonderful. I'm extremely thankful that you've given me an opportunity to chat about something that I love very dearly and that I've had an incredible experience with so far. So I thank you for the platform and thank you for your time and thank you for listening to me ramble on.
No, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's late out there right now, so I appreciate you taking the time to do that. So, but with that being said, Coach, I really appreciate it again. If you guys are still watching and listening to this, thank you guys so much as well. But we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.